Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm your host Chris Davis. There are a few stories we're going to discuss in this video. So this is going to be like a newscast. Usually I just do one story, but I'm going to try to do at least 3 or 4 stories a week, and we'll see how this goes, okay? So whether you guys like this better or not. So the first story we're going to discuss is the terrible incident that happened at Astro World a little over a week ago, with now 9 people dead because of the concert, and one 9-year-old child fighting for his life. Also, 300 people were injured at that concert. The way this terrible incident happened was there was a stampede, a huge push to the front, and when that occurred, then people were trampled on, and then when they were trampled on, they couldn't breathe. Concert goers were trying to get attention of production staff, such as camera operators, but they were told to step down. People pleaded with the security there to get them out, but one concert goer said that they weren't going to get out, that security was not going to let them out unless they had fainted. Travis Scott had stopped several times during his performance to request help for people who passed out, but he just kept resuming the show. Authorities are blaming him and the event organizer Live Nation for not working with the police department or fire department ahead of time to make sure that the event was safe. Also, they're blaming Travis Scott and Live Nation for not stopping the show. I have a few video clips discussing people's reactions to the Travis Scott concert. Please take a moment and watch those right now.
I don't have any words, you know. Tonight, a mother's tears marking another family torn apart by the deadly Astro World Festival. This was not concert. I don't know what it was, but this was not concert. You know, because my baby didn't come back. Marty Shahani died late Wednesday. The 22-year-old had been on a ventilator since Friday night's Travis Scott concert, where her cousin watched her disappear when the crowd surged.
If they hadn't packed us in on all 3 sides with barricades, they suffocated us. They did this to Barty. They suffocated Barty.
The star Texas A&M student, now the 9th life lost at the event, facing new lawsuits by the day.
We want to make sure that the people who decided to put profits over the safety of the lives of children and youth are held accountable.
There's a lot of people trampled and they're passed out at the front stage.
Police radio traffic from the Friday night concert, just obtained by the Houston Chronicle, captures the moments the concert, packed with more than 50,000 people, took a deadly turn. This transmission at 9:21 p.m.
Folks are coming out of the crowd complaining of difficulty breathing, crushing type injuries. Seems like the crowd is compressing.
A mass casualty event was declared at 9:30 p.m. Some in the crowd pleading for the show to end. Scott did not stop performing until 10:10. His representatives say he was unaware of what was happening. And tonight the Shahani family says the spirit of their daughter will live on by being an organ donor after going to her very first concert. Lester.
We begin with a deadly concert disaster in Texas and the investigation into the crowd surge that left 8 dead and hundreds injured. Lots of new details coming in overnight.
The Houston police chief met with Travis Scott and his head of security before the show began over concerns about public safety. Marcus Moore is live now in Houston with the latest. Good morning, Marcus.
Well, Robin, good morning. Families here are demanding answers and accountability after this tragedy, and there's a lot we don't know this morning, but we are getting some clarity about what happened in the moments before the concert and also some of the plans that were in place. But something clearly went terribly wrong.
This morning, new video shows those chaotic moments that had fans pleading for Travis Scott to end his Astro World Music Festival as it turned deadly. These new images taken under a crushing, tangled
pile of fallen fans showing concert goers crying out for help. One seen dialing 911 as the concert raged on around them. 8 people were killed. Dozens of others seriously hurt as the crowd surged at Friday's hip-hop festival in Houston, with scene after scene, fans pleading for help. And even trying to take matters into their own hands to stop the show. 18-year-old Aiden Cruz can be seen here climbing a camera platform, pleading with the concert crew to stop the show.
I end up getting up on that stage and I'm trying to like get Travis's attention and other people's attention, and then he's like telling us to get down and everything, and we just get down. The security finally comes after I realized that's not working.
Aiden, speaking exclusively to ABC News, says he was hoping to save lives after almost losing his own in the crushing horror of the crowd below.
And I just remember just having so much weight on my body, and I was pushing, I was fighting, and then I stopped because I was getting winded. I was using all the energy I had left in me, and I came to the point where I was accepting my death.
Houston's police chief says he met with Travis Scott and his head of security prior to the performance to express concerns over public safety. The New York Times reporting that Houston officials were worried about crowd control, showing concert goers rushing past security earlier in the day and citing previous Astro World festivals that became dangerous. The third annual sold-out event, the first since the pandemic, drawing a crowd of 50,000 fans. As it got closer to the time for headliner Travis Scott to take to the stage, the crowd started swaying and pushing forward, knocking people to the ground and crushing others against the barricades. 9-year-old Ezra Blunt in the hospital suffering critical injuries. He was sitting on his dad's shoulders when the crowd got out of control and trampled the boy. Police now investigating why it took nearly 40 minutes to stop the rapper's show after Houston police declared the concert a mass casualty event. According to new documents obtained by ABC News, the operations plans didn't account for a crowd surge, and only 2 people had authority to stop the concert, the executive producer and festival director. Some fans tried desperately to alert the staff of what was happening in the crowd. Memorials now honoring the victims at NRG Stadium. All 8 people between the ages of 14 and 27.
I'm honestly just devastated. I could never imagine anything like this just happening.
Scott saying he'll cover all funeral costs, refund admission to all attendees, and offer counseling sessions to anyone affected by the tragedy. And in a statement, Scott's team says that this is just the first of many steps he plans to take, quote, as part of his personal vow to assist those who've been affected throughout their grieving and also the recovery process as, Michael, people across this country pray for those who are fighting for their lives in the hospital.
It is heartbreaking. Thank you so much, Marcus. That happened again.
Your department and the Houston Police Department declared a mass casualty event at approximately 9:38. The first patient treated by your paramedics 2 minutes later, and yet the music reportedly continued until 10:15. Do you think someone should have called off the concert? Would that have helped minimize the injuries here?
Well, look, there's certainly a lot of questions to be answered there. We did declare a mass casualty incident a little after 9:30, and I'm glad we were repositioned ahead of time, even though the plan did not call for that to happen. We had resources on scene monitoring the conversations. We had some units that were redeployed and some that were requested soon after our incident commander there was beginning to hear the chatter and the incident escalate. So we were able to quickly respond as soon as we knew that the private company that was providing the medical component became overwhelmed.
But let me ask you, because you had actually been quoted in the New York Times saying the one person who can really call for and get a tactical pause when something goes wrong is that performer. They have that bully pulpit and they have a responsibility. So let me be very blunt about it. Do you believe the performer, Travis Scott, should have called an end to the concert once he saw what was taking place in front of the stage?
Look, absolutely. Look, we all have a responsibility. Everybody in that at that event has a responsibility, starting from the artist on down. And certainly, as soon as they became aware, and there was evidence that the crowd itself was trying to approach some of their private security, some of the security that was in that closer to that stage, that something was wrong. At one point, there was an ambulance that was trying to make its way through the crowd, and he's got, the artist has command of that crowd. In my opinion, and this is my opinion right now, because everything is going to be fleshed out throughout this investigation. But certainly, the artist, if he notices something that's going on, he can certainly pause that performance, turn on the lights, and say, "Hey, we're not going to continue until this thing is resolved."
Okay, you see that people have been traumatized from what happened at the Astro World Concert, and investigators are still looking at what caused that stampede to the front. This story is still developing, and I'll continue to keep following it. Our next story is about Aaron Rodgers. He's been in the news lately. He's being criticized for lying about being vaccinated for COVID-19. When asked in a press conference, has he been vaccinated, he says that he has been immunized, and there's some people on his team that have not been vaccinated. It's a personal decision, and he says he isn't going to judge them. People found out that he wasn't vaccinated when he was when he caught COVID-19. He has lost an endorsement deal with Previa Health. They have severed ties with him. There are a lot of people in the sports world who are upset with Aaron Rodgers over him lying about being vaccinated. Here's some video clips to show their reactions.
For a living, because I used to be a lawyer. One of the arguments I would make if I had a witness who was caught in a falsehood on the witness stand, the argument is, and I would set it up with this spiel where you set the scene, but basically you're at a campfire and you got a big pot of beef stew, and you put all the ingredients in, blah blah blah. You take a bite and the meat's rancid. Okay, do you keep eating or do you dump out the whole pot? And this calls into question Aaron Rodgers' credibility on everything. On everything. When you get caught in a lie like this on an important public health issue, your credibility on everything is suspect going forward. Now, setting that aside, and to amplify your point, he said immunized. And that may be his, well, hey, I never said I was vaccinated. I said I was immunized because I've had it. And I've got the antibodies, and we hear that all the time. I don't need to be vaccinated. I had it. I've got the antibodies. Okay, fine. But here's what he said right after he said I've been immunized. There's guys on the team that haven't been vaccinated. I think it's a personal decision. I'm not going to judge those guys. Of course you're not. You're one of them. You're one of them, right? How can I judge guys who aren't vaccinated when I'm not vaccinated? So he created the clear impression that he was vaccinated. He lied to the reporters. The headline of every story was, Aaron Rodgers says he's vaccinated. He never said it, but he clearly implied it. And then, Miles, let me tell you this. I've got my phone here. October 5. Can't tell you who it was, but I can tell you it was one of the NFL's general managers. I can be that specific regarding generalities. Text out of the blue. I heard something crazy that I believe based on who told me. And yada yada, back and forth. Aaron Rodgers is not vaccinated. And so, what I decided to eventually do, because this isn't something that someone's just going to admit if they're trying to conceal it. I went and looked at photos of preseason games when Aaron Rodgers was not in uniform, was on the sideline, and under the protocols that were in place for the preseason, he was supposed to wear a mask. All 3 preseason games, no mask. I've never seen him in a mask. Only images I've seen this year are beard and mustache looking like Slippery Pete from the Frogger episode of Seinfeld. Never in a mask. Not talking to reporters, not at the sideline during preseason. Now, when you're in uniform, you don't have to wear a mask when you're not in the game, but the 3 preseason games in August, when the virus was about as bad as it's been, right? we've been lucky the past few months. The numbers have gone down. It was as bad as it's been in August. And he's there, face to face, talking to people, all sorts of pictures. Him standing next to Matt LaFleur, him standing next to David Bakhtiari, violating that protocol. I've asked the league to identify all the times he's been fined and what for. Is he violating the protocol in the building? Is it just those moments where his ruse may be exposed? I was stunned by this. Even though I was told back in early October that he wasn't vaccinated, I'm still stunned that he was able to pull it off and that he lied about it the way that he did.
Just heard was, I'm not there to judge those guys. This is a personal decision. Well, you and I both just grit our teeth at personal decision. It's not a personal decision.
Right.
If you're taking $22 million to play for a team that belongs to a league that lost millions and millions of dollars through the pandemic last football season.
Our next story is about the U.S. supply shortage. We just don't have a shortage in supply. There's a shortage in labor. And there are a few theories going around about what the cause may be. Here's a video clip from MSNBC of news commentators discussing it.
Can I ask Peter a question?
Okay, sure, you can.
And I'll ask Sam too,
Do
because I
it.
don't want
Why
Sam
not?
to ever feel left out.
Well, little Sammy.
So Peter, do you think the White House recognizes the problem that we have? Because I don't know if they've been slow to it or not, but obviously the supply chain is a critical issue. But people just not going back to work. I mean, it's really we have more job openings than we ever have in the history of this country. For every person unemployed, the ratio to an unemployed worker with a job is better than it's ever been. Wherever we go, we talk to small business owners, we talk to restaurant owners, they say the same thing. Hey, I'm trying to pay 17-year-olds like $18 an hour and give them health care. I can't get them in here. Gas stations, when you're driving around this summer, we're paying $20 an hour for you to work inside a convenience store. You go inside, no takers. What's the White House plan to getting people back to work?
Yeah, I think they do recognize that this is a problem, obviously. Nobody wants to talk about a Christmas without presidents. That's never good for a president or any other politician. But I think you're interesting here. We have two sort of theories of the case, right? This is sort of the lingering effects of a pandemic that is at some point going to, basically shake itself out. Or we're in a transformational moment when we're basically rethinking, society and the income disparity and the wage, depression that we've seen now for a generation. And is that going to finally, reorder in effect in this moment? The other question, by the way, we haven't heard, and I'd be interested in hearing experts talk about it because I don't know the answer, is how much immigration is a factor on this, right? I mean, one reason that chambers of commerce across the country have actually favored immigration is to get people to do a lot of jobs that Americans born here might not be as willing to do for wages that they might not be willing to work for. Has the focus on immigration in the last few years changed that dynamic in the labor market? I'm not sure the answer there, but you're right. I think President Biden is aware of his team is certainly aware of the risks here politically as well as economically. They do have an economy, as Mike Barnacle put it, that is overall, in a lot of ways, looks pretty good. But if people feel in a very tangible way, as you put it, that they can walk into stores without being held, that they can walk into stores without getting the Christmas presents they need, that's a very tactile kind of problem for an administration that's trying to get this country back in shape.
Well, and also, Sam Stein, that they can go into a car shop and get a broken car that they desperately need to make their commute to go to work every morning, whether they can get that fixed, whether they can get plumbing fixed inside their house, or if there's a problem, with their electricity. You go down the list of things. I'm just not sure exactly when people became, people just said, oh, I'm not going to work. I'm just not going to work. I mean, when did because I've read all the stories in the New York Times. Oh, people are rethinking their relationship with work. Well, awesome. But at what point in the development of mankind did workers become philosopher kings and they just will sitting there thinking and rubbing their chins pay the rent?
Okay, what do you all think? What do you all think? What's causing this supply shortage? Is it the Great Resignation? Is it COVID-19? Is it certain political laws that have been passed, mandates? What do you believe is causing the huge supply shortage, and what do you think? How do we resolve it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. One last bonus story. Britney Spears' conservatorship has ended after a grassroots campaign and 2 documentaries. In a long court battle, the conservatorship has finally ended, and Britney Spears can make her own decisions personally and financially. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked what I had to share, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with all your friends, and all of you have a great day.